following program contains graphic images and language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Ahmaud Arbery was chased, hunted down, and ultimately executed.
I told him stop till he hit me. I had nothing to do. I just nothing else I can do.
Our position is he's committed no crime. He was a patriotic American citizen doing what anybody would have done that day.
All he's done is run away from you.
Run past me, yes, ma'am.
And you pulled out a shotgun and pointed it at him.
You think we are this small southern town, but we've got this race thing licked, you know? We're not those people.
We don't want any more black pastors coming in here.
This has been the most racist, languaged court case that I've witnessed.
I run with Mud! I run with Mud!
When they couldn't sufficiently scare him or intimidate him, they killed him.
A jury of 11 whites and one black in the deep south stood up in the courtroom and said that black lives do matter.
His name was Ahmaud Arbery, and his murder was called by some a modern-day lynching. The video of his final moments, which was recorded by one of the defendants in this case, sent shockwaves around the world and forced a small coastal community to confront racial intolerance. I'm Ted Rowlands, and this is Victim to Verdict, the Ahmaud Arbery case. Brunswick, Georgia is a small southern coastal city with a population of less than 20,000. The Brunswick River runs through town. High above it stands the Sydney Lanier Bridge, suspended nearly 500 feet, connecting the Golden Isles.
The Golden Isles is probably from our expansive marsh grasses. This is a very eclectic, laid-back community. People get along here.
5 miles away in Glynn County, nestled up to a much smaller waterway, the Little Satilla River, is Satilla Shores, a quiet and serene subdivision lined with Spanish moss and live oaks.
Just like a multi-class neighborhood, so there's like, retired people, they're like young couples.
Mostly white, not entirely white, middle-class neighborhood, really quiet neighborhood. A lot of people's houses back up to the marsh. They've got, boats and docks.
Satilla Shores has a street that's a loop that goes all of the way around. The homes that are along it, you can start in one place and then end up in the same place if you're driving along it. It's nestled away in this unincorporated part of Brunswick, Georgia.
There was a nearly half-acre waterfront lot on Satilla Drive that was purchased in June of 2016. An out-of-towner named Larry English was going to build his dream home. For years, because of Larry's health, the project remained unfinished. Because his lot wasn't protected, Larry decided to install cameras.
My cameras would notify me I would be 2 hours away, and my cameras would notify me and let me know somebody was on the property.
This is a monitoring system. It's on his phone. It goes off if someone moves around in his home. So it's not continuously giving a feed of what's going on, but if there's movement in this house that's unfinished and open, he gets that alert.
It didn't take long for the alerts to start rolling in. There was a man and a woman captured on the video, kids, and then there was this man that walked in and looked around on 4 separate occasions. Nothing was ever stolen or damaged, but Larry English decided to report the trespassers to police. His new neighbors also found out after the surveillance video was posted online.
And one of the neighbors who noticed that investigation and this video were the McMichaels family.
The McMichaels lived in this home a few up from the English property on the same side of Satilla Drive. Gregory McMichael, a 64-year-old retired sheriff's investigator, lived with his wife, Allison. Their son, 34-year-old Travis, a mechanic, also lived at the home. He, too, had some law enforcement experience with his time in the Coast Guard. The McMichaels and other neighbors were not only aware of the trespassers at the home under construction, but Travis had also recently reported that one of his guns was stolen out of his pickup truck.
Gregory McMichael left Travis McMichael's truck unlocked after he went out there and somehow left the truck unlocked, and somebody broke in and went into the truck, according to the report, and stole Travis McMichael's handgun.
By February of 2020, between talk of the McMichaels' stolen gun and the trespassers at the home under construction, concern was starting to grow in Satilla Shores.
There was a post, neighborhood, Satilla Shores neighborhood post, and also on our neighbor's talk.
On February 23rd, sometime just after noon, about 2 miles away from Satilla Shores, in a neighborhood across the highway, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, who was living in this home with his mother, would leave his house on foot. His mother, Wanda Cooper Jones, had just left a few days earlier on a work trip.
And I went to his room and told him I was leaving for a couple of days and I would be back. And anytime that we depart each other, it was, I love you. And I said, I love you. And he said, I love you too. And I left. It's the last time I saw him.
Prosecutors say when Ahmaud Arbery left his home on that Sunday, he was going for a run, something that those who knew him say was a major part of his life.
Unless it was pouring rain down outside, Ahmaud was going to be running.
It was a kind of freedom for him. He did it frequently, and he encouraged his friends to do it. He would run in like basketball sneakers or khaki shorts or, polo shirts sometime.
Arbery would end up in Satilla Shores. That's him on home security video walking into frame. He stops at the home under construction owned by Larry English. As he goes inside, the cameras in the house are recording. Ahmaud Marquez Arbery was born on May 8th, 1994, the youngest of three. His family called him Quez.
Ahmaud was the baby of 3 children. Ahmaud was very compassionate. Ahmaud was a child that would come in and give me a hug and give me a kiss on the jaw, just standing in the kitchen. He was the life of the party. He wanted to make you laugh. He was my baby.
Arbery attended Brunswick High School, where he made a name for himself playing football.
You saw him give everything on the field whenever he was out there playing. Ahmaud was always the one that, hey, we can do it. It doesn't matter how tough it is.
Justin Coleman, who went on to play in the NFL, was one of Ahmaud Arbery's teammates.
He was like a comedian, and, everything he said to me was like, made me crack and laugh. He always found a way to make somebody laugh.
Like many others, Ahmaud Arbery had dreams of making it big in football, but given his size, his coach knew that likely that wasn't going to happen. After graduating high school in 2012, Arbery put his dreams of becoming a football star aside and moved 3 hours from home to attend South Georgia Technical College.
He went off to college for about a year and a half. He wanted to come home and go to work. So I allowed him to come home, and my mom made some bad choices. And I think that's when all the challenges came.
This time period is a difficult time for Ahmaud Arbery, according to his family. He is trying to find himself, doesn't have a lot of direction. And in 2013, he is having run-ins with police. He was caught on school property with a handgun. Then about 5 years after that, he was caught shoplifting.
According to the family, by late 2019, Ahmaud Arbery was working at McDonald's, but was talking about going back to school.
He wanted to be an electrician. I have 3 brothers that are electricians, and he would often go during the summers and work with them as well.
Coming up.
911, what's the address of emergency? I'm out here at Satilla Shores. There's a black male running down the street.
Ahmaud Arbery chased down.
We see him come around the corner. He's going down here. We pull up beside him and say, hey, stop, we want to talk to you. And he just keeps on running.
When victim to verdict, the killing of Ahmaud Arbery returns.
The following program contains graphic images and language. Viewer discretion is advised.
On the day that he was shot and killed, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery can be seen on surveillance video walking up Satilla Drive in Glynn County, Georgia. He's walking, not jogging, which some people believe is important. He then enters a home that's under construction. It's a house that neighbors knew well because it had remained unfinished for years, and the owner, Larry English, had expressed concern about trespassers. Arbery spends about 4 minutes in the house, not taking or damaging anything.
He had no burglary tools, no burglary bag, no burglary mask. He had a t-shirt and shorts on.
I see a guy walking in curious about a construction site, looking around and leaving. Trespassing, as far as I know, is not a capital offense.
Ahmaud Arbery goes inside the house. That's an open house. It's under construction. There's no outside garage door. He can walk in multiple ways. Family always interprets that as, yes, he was going back to become an electrician. He was going back to school to become an electrician. And if you look, he's just sort of following the wiring. And you know, I don't know if that's what he was doing or not.
Arbery leaves the house and starts running up Satilla Drive, likely unaware that a man across the street, standing behind a tree, has been watching him and has called 911.
And you said someone's breaking into it right now?
No, it's almost open. It's under construction. And he's been caught on the camera a bunch before at night. Kind of an ongoing thing out here.
Okay, what is he doing?
He's running down the street.
Okay, that's fine. I'll get them out there. I just need to know what he was doing wrong.
She finally says, I just need you to tell me, what is he doing wrong?
I just need to know what he was doing wrong. Was he just on the premises and not supposed to be?
And the man couldn't tell her.
To this day, we don't know.
Arbery runs up Satilla Drive. It's hard to see, but the surveillance video shows him pass the McMichaels' house. Then, a few moments later, a white pickup truck is seen pulling out of the McMichaels' driveway.
Gregory McMichael, retired investigator with the Brunswick Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office, is out front working on his boat, and he sees Ahmaud run past. In his words from the police report we get later, he runs into his house, tells his son to get his gun.
Gregory McMichael arms himself with a Smith & Wesson 686 .357 Magnum revolver. Travis McMichael arms himself with a Remington 870 12-gauge shotgun.
They profiled him based on race. When you get a shotgun, that's what they use to put an elephant down when they escape from a zoo.
He comes hauling ass down the street. I run in the house. I said, Travis, the same guy that broke in the house down there. I said, come on, let's go. So we pull up beside him. Hey, stop, we want to talk to you. And he just keeps on running.
The father and son are now in full pursuit. That is when William Roddy Bryan sees the pursuit and decides to join in.
He's out working on his porch or something, and he screams out to them, y'all need help. They sort of nod, I don't know what they tell him. He jumps in his truck, and he joins the pursuit.
And then comes this other white guy who has no idea why they're chasing him. But he just joins right in. You know, I'm going to join in with the white guys. I'm not going to go try to help the black guy. He doesn't even know what's going on.
He was pretty involved in the chase, according to the GBI investigation. He runs him toward a ditch at one point, and he gets around him. At another point, the truck actually makes contact with Ahmaud, and Ahmaud starts running back into the neighborhood.
He's running. He's trying to get out of the neighborhood. You know, unfortunately, he doesn't know it. He doesn't realize that if he turns right, he's just going to end up going in circles. If he turns left, he's out of the neighborhood and he's free.
Ahmaud Arbery is running back down Holmes Road, away from Roddy Bryan and towards the McMichaels. He's been running from the men for almost 4 minutes. It's now that Greg McMichaels decides to call 911.
Hello? 911, what's the address of your emergency? I'm out here at Satilla Shores. There's a black male running down the street. Where at Satilla Shores? I don't know what street we're on.
Roddy Bryan has his cell phone out and is recording as Arbery runs towards the McMichaels. Travis is outside the driver's side door with his shotgun. Greg is in the back of the truck, still talking to the 911 operator.
Stop, what's that? Stop. Greg! Sir, hello, sir. Sir, where you at? Hello?
Slowing down the video, we see Ahmaud Arbery approach the McMichaels truck and decide to veer to the right to the passenger side, avoiding Travis, who's standing outside the driver's door with his shotgun. As Arbery comes around the front of the truck, he seems to lunge at Travis McMichael and his shotgun as the first shot is fired. Greg McMichael is standing in the back of the pickup. He drops his phone and grabs his gun. Arbery and Travis continue to fight over the shotgun as the second shot is fired out of frame. Then the third and final shot. Ahmaud Arbery staggers for a few steps before falling to the ground.
Ahmaud, for whatever reasons, charges straight at Travis McMichael, who has a shotgun in his hand, and starts trying to pull it away.
Ahmaud Arbery just tries to push the gun away from him that's facing him. He thought it was quick enough and strong enough that if this high-powered shotgun is right at his face, that he could push it away.
Coming up, the body camera.
Should we have been chasing him? I don't know.
Yeah. Then frustration for the family as the investigation stalls.
And I said, I just want to remind you that I'm not going anywhere.
When victim to verdict, the killing of Ahmaud Arbery returns.
Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder after her boyfriend suffocated inside of a suitcase.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
I thought he was okay.
The Suitcase Murder Trial. Live coverage starting Monday morning, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
You saying you can't recall what happened that night. If you were me, would you believe you?
The following program contains graphic images and language. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's just after 1:15 on February 23rd, 2020. Just 10 minutes ago, Ahmaud Arbery was inside the home under construction. Now, he's laying on his stomach dying in the street. The first Glenn County police officer arrives on scene almost immediately.
I rolled right up on him, man. I heard the gunshot.
Arbery is moving his leg and clearly takes a breath, but nobody is administering first aid.
Ahmaud's on the ground, essentially bleeding out. You've seen this video? He's still alive. It's chilling to watch.
And to have the body camera footage, it's incredible to see how the scene developed from a suspect there at the scene and how the officers handled it. Everyone is discussing what happened and what happens next.
All right, guys, everybody's got their weapons up, correct? Everybody's got the weapons up. Okay.
The second officer then arrives on scene. He does attempt to help Ahmaud Arbery.
Hey, he's still breathing, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to try and do something for him. Got any first aid kit?
I ain't got no first aid kit for none of that.
I'm just going to keep my hand on him. There's nothing I can do for this gentleman. It's like a shotgun slug to the center chest. He was on his stomach when I got here. I rolled him over. He stopped breathing a couple of minutes ago.
Right here, okay?
Do you want to put something on him or what? It was obvious to me. I told my dispatch 10-7, but he took his last gasp a couple minutes ago.
According to the medical examiner, Ahmaud Arbery died of 2 gunshot wounds to the chest. The damage so severe he was pronounced dead at the scene. His body was eventually covered. The responding officers with body cameras still recording turn their attention now to the McMichaels and Roddy Bryant, who start telling their stories. Travis McMichael decides to bring up his stolen gun, which went missing nearly 2 months earlier.
We've had break-ins, and my gun's stolen. And, we caught him the other day, and Dad was outside, so I'm running.
While Travis is being investigated and questioned by police, he brings up without much provocation that his gun was stolen recently out of his pickup truck. And it's not clear that there's any connection between Ahmaud Arbery and this stolen gun, but he brings it up as if he thinks it's relevant somehow to the police's investigation.
Then Roddy Bryant proceeds to explain how he ended up getting involved in the chase.
I'm on the porch and I see him running by, and I see them come by in the white truck. I pulled out of my driveway, was going to try to block him. He was going all around it, and I made a few moves at him.
I try to imagine being in a neighborhood and seeing my neighbors, driving after a young person, and then me feeling compelled to go get in my car and join the chase. Like why would you do that?
Yeah.
Now listen closely as Roddy Bryant talks about whether or not chasing Ahmaud Arbery was the right thing to do.
Should we have been chasing him? I don't know.
Travis McMichael, with Ahmaud Arbery's blood still on his hands and arms, explains what he says happened.
So we run out to stop him, to talk to him. He took off on us. Stop. He come out of the truck running at us. I told him, stop, stop, stop.
While police are questioning Travis, you get this sense that there's a comfort level there. Typically, if you have a scene where two men are armed, another man is driving around and had been with the men who were armed, and another victim is bleeding on the ground to death, that there would be a bit more of urgency and perhaps even concern by the police about what may happen next. But it seems that they are very understanding of the McMichael situation, even some consoling of Travis McMichael having been the shooter.
If he would have stopped this,
I know, that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, just take a breath. I can only imagine. No, you're okay, sir. Like I said, I can only imagine. I hope I never have to understand what you feel right now.
She says at one point, I can only imagine what you've been through. What about the dead man on the road? And when is somebody going to ask, why is there a dead man in the middle of your street dying of gunshot wounds, unarmed?
Now, listen to Gregory McMichael. Make sure that the responding officers know that he is a former Glynn County DA investigator.
Yeah, I was chief investigator with the DA's office for 23 years, so I know what you got to do. I know everything, What's his name?
Leska. Officer, that's Sergeant Leska. I didn't know
Greg McMichael, who reminds the police officer, hey, man, I used to work with your police force, this, that, and the other. I know a bunch of people. From that point on, it certainly does look like it's completely a gamed system.
At some point, Gregory McMichael actually calls the acting district attorney in the county, his former boss, Jackie Johnson.
Jackie, this is Greg. Can you call me as soon as you possibly can? My friend and I have been involved in a shooting, and I need some advice right away. If you could please call me as soon as you possibly can. Thank you. Bye.
McMichael also wants to make sure that they don't put handcuffs on his son Travis when taking him in for questioning.
I know y'all will take him down.
Yeah, he's going to be interviewed.
Yeah. Y'all don't put him in cuffs, are you?
No. Why would he be in cuffs?
If those were black people, they would have probably shot them, but if not, definitely mashed their face into the concrete, handcuffed them, then asked them some questions in a room where they were threatening with, 100 years.
It's a choice.
We are going to take your clothes, but we're going to let you go home and get it changed. That's why I was trying to make sure how close it was.
Absolutely.
About 2 hours later, Travis and Gregory McMichael are taken to the Glynn County Police Department. The Brunswick District Attorney's Office advises investigators that no arrests are necessary. Both men are free to go home. Coming up, Ahmaud Arbery's family struggles for answers. Why was he shot?
It was hard processing it because I know Ahmaud had been running for a year and a half, and he had never encountered those type problems as far as doing a break-in and anything of that nature.
When victim of the verdict, the killing of Ahmaud Arbery returns.
This is true crime all the time.
We are live in courtrooms across the country.
We continue our gavel-to-gavel coverage.
This is what I love to do.
The following program contains graphic images and language. Viewer discretion is advised.
We laid Ahmaud to rest that Saturday.
I've shared many tears. I spent a lot of restless nights, just crying, just wishing I had another conversation with Ahmaud.
In the days following Ahmaud Arbery's death, through her pain and grief, Wanda Cooper Jones's motherly instincts kick in, knowing that something was off. The story that she was told that her son was shot and killed while committing a burglary just didn't make sense, and she wanted answers.
So that Monday morning, I began to start making phone calls. I called the DA here in Brunswick, Georgia, Jackie Johnson's office.
The local district attorney in this area is Jackie Johnson. She would have had jurisdiction over this shooting investigation if charges were filed. And she immediately recused herself because she had a connection. She was the person in charge of the office when Greg McMichaels worked there as an investigator for many years.
Jackie Johnson says, I cannot be involved in this, but she does contact George Barnhill in Wayne County. And Wayne County, we know, contacted the Glenn County Police Department that day.
She just goes straight to Barnhill, which she really doesn't have the right to do. And she names him. So he takes it on the first day of the shooting. He takes it that afternoon. And by noon the next day, George Barnhill has declared that he sees no evidence that the three white men acted inappropriately in chasing or killing Ahmaud Arbery.
I spoke to the victim's advocate, and I explained that I was told that Ahmaud's case had been transferred over, and she immediately told me that she wasn't aware that a case came over from Brunswick, Georgia. The DA, which was Barnhill, he got on the phone. He told me that the case is in my office, but it's actually closed. It's going to remain closed until the toxicology report and the autopsy is received.
He orders multiple toxicology exams, not on the killers, not on Travis McMichael to see was he on anything at the time, or Greg McMichael when he impulsively and erratically says, we got to chase this guy, let's go, or Roddy Bryan when he hops into his truck to join them. There was no evidence that Ahmaud Arbery was on anything, but he has toxicology exams from on everything, and guess what? Every single one of them negative.
I began to ask him questions, and he said, ma'am, very nonchalantly, he said, ma'am, all I can tell you is your son was shot more than once with a shotgun. And I said, I just want to remind you that I'm not going anywhere. And he said, very nonchalantly again, who told you to go anywhere?
It's not only the family of Ahmaud Arbery that's seeking information, the local media is also asking questions.
Usually more information is forthcoming from the police departments, from Brunswick or the Glenn County Police Department in situations like this. And there's just nothing more coming.
When you look back at the police report, once it was eventually released to the public, you get the sense that the police, in their narrative, essentially just wrote down what the McMichaels said happened, and they wrote that down as the facts of everything that transpired.
Several weeks would go by with no updates. The then district attorney, George Barnhill, announces he is recusing himself. But before he does, he sends this letter to law enforcement sharing his opinion that no charges should be filed in the case. He goes on to say that the reason for his recusal is because his son works at the Glenn County District Attorney's Office, the same agency that Gregory McMichael retired from. After Barnhill, the case lands in the hands of this man, Thomas Durden.
Do you trust the new prosecutor?
We're very distrustful of any prosecutor in this southeastern region of Georgia because they all know one another.
Despite the changes in prosecution, the case of Ahmaud Arbery's killing remains idle for more than 2 months. And with the coronavirus dominating the headlines, it gets little to no attention in the media until early May, when the cell phone video of Ahmaud Arbery's death surfaces on social media.
It was Tuesday, May 5th. I received a phone call from my attorney who told me that the video was out there. I haven't saw the full video. I saw the still shot of Ahmaud, and I can see him as he's falling down.
Coming up, outrage around the world. And the McMichaels and Roddy Bryant on trial for murder.
We hit the ground running Wednesday morning, and within 36 hours, we had secured warrants for 2 individuals for felony murder.
When victim to verdict, the killing of Ahmaud Arbery returns.
Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder after her boyfriend suffocated inside of a suitcase.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
I thought he was okay.
The Suitcase Murder Trial. Live coverage starting Monday morning, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
You chose the place. You chose the victim. Back of the head. Execution style.
The following program contains graphic images and language. Viewer discretion is advised.
In May of 2020, more than 2 months after Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed, no charges had been filed, and it didn't seem likely any were coming, despite the fact that investigators had seen William Roddy Bryant's cell phone video.
But the ironic thing about the video is so many people saw it. Investigators, district attorneys' offices, and no one made an immediate move to escalate this to charges.
2 district attorneys decided not to charge this. They saw the video, and they were fine with it. Ultimately, it was leaked to the public, and it was only leaked to the public that actually changed everything.
The video is going viral tonight. Everyone is talking about it.
My man was just jogging. He was just jogging.
How can you start a fight when you're going out for a jog, right?
Once that video got released to the public, everything changed. It was instant in the way that people reacted and felt that something very wrong happened here.
The most dangerous thing in America is the imagination of white people when it comes to people that look like me.
After the videos released, the case was given to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and a new prosecutor, the 4th one, took over.
We will be on it every day until the end. And we ask that as we continue to move forward in this prosecution, that you give us that trust.
Within weeks, all 3 men who chased Ahmaud Arbery, Greg and Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryant were charged with murder. They went on trial together the following year at the Glenn County Courthouse in Brunswick, Georgia.
We fired up and we ready to go. We fired up and won't take it no more. No peace.
At the time this went to trial, there was so much attention on what happened there in Brunswick, Georgia. There were advocacy groups who bussed people in from different places so that they could be present to witness what happened. They wanted to make sure that there was accountability for how this trial unfolded.
A high-profile trial changes everything. It's sort of like an athlete on steroids. It's stronger, it's bigger, it's faster, it's more difficult. Everything about it changes.
But in this case, all 3 of these defendants did everything they did based on assumptions. Not on facts, not on evidence, on assumptions. And they made decisions in their driveways based on those assumptions that took a young man's life.
On the first day of trial, there was a sense of anticipation. It was intensity inside of that courtroom. The gallery was packed. Wanda Cooper Jones had intentionally avoided seeing the video that had become viral, was everywhere on social media. Anytime she'd seen even the beginning frame of it, she would look away. But on that first day of trial, she saw the video for the first time. You could hear her reaction to it. She was audibly crying and then had to leave
The three defendants each had their own attorneys who each had a different narrative. For Travis McMichael, the shooter, it was self-defense.
It's tragic that Ahmaud Arbery lost his life. But at that point, Travis McMichael is acting in self-defense.
While race was part of the dialogue outside of the courthouse, it wasn't allowed inside the courtroom, even though investigators found evidence of racism connected to both Travis McMichael and Roddy Bryant.
Someone sends him a video or a picture, he makes the comment, that would only be better if they'd have blown that N-words, or they'd blown that N-words head off.
I had to sit through the pretrial hearing where we heard these awful things. We also saw text messages from Travis McMichael saying he enjoyed being away from people on his boat because there were no, quote, N-words on it. It's the kind of thing that inflamed the public, and the prosecution didn't use it in the trial. And the sense you got from the prosecution was they didn't need it.
The jury also never heard what William Roddy Bryant claimed Travis McMichael said after shooting Ahmaud Arbery.
Mr. Bryan said that after the shooting took place, before police arrival, while Mr. Arbery was on the ground, that he heard Travis McMichael make the statement.
And the more horrifying thing might be that he was actually still alive, and that those would be the last two words that he heard. N-word.
To learn that after my son laid there in the streets dead, he continued to use the word that he used. Despite he had killed him, he was dead. Very, very heartbreaking.
Coming up, Travis McMichael takes the stand.
Do you want to testify?
I do.
Why?
I want to give my side of the story.
And the jury's verdict.
Madam Foreperson, I understand you have reached a verdict as to each defendant.
We have.
The following program contains graphic images and language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Greg McMichael, his son Travis, and William Roddy Bryant face murder charges for allegedly chasing down and killing 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery. The trial in Glynn County, Georgia, attracted people from around the country and several high-profile African-American pastors, including Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton.
To my knowledge, Reverend Al Sharpton has no church in Glynn County, never has. Obviously, there's only so many pastors they can have. And if their pastor's Al Sharpton right now, that's fine, but then that's it. We don't want any more black pastors coming in here.
The way that this defense attorney decided to argue that issue was not just ridiculous, it was idiocy.
That statement from Kevin Goff set off an explosive response from the community and people who are watching this case that had such strange racial undertones that he would mention that he didn't want these civil rights icons sitting inside of the courtroom with the victim's mother. Just was a call to arms for other black pastors across the country to then come down to Brunswick, Georgia to show even more support.
After 23 witnesses over 8 days of testimony, the prosecution rested its case. It was time for the defense, and it was then that Travis McMichael told the world that he wanted to take the stand.
Do you want to testify?
I do.
Why?
I want to give my side of the story. I want to explain what happened and to be able to say what happened from the way I see it.
Okay, well, let's do that.
I get to the front of the truck, and by the time I get to the front of the truck, he is at the front corner panel on the right-hand side, and he turns and is on me, and he grabs the shotgun, and I believe I was struck on that first instance that we made contact.
What were you thinking at that moment?
I was thinking of my son. It sounds weird, but that was the first thing that hit me.
What did you do?
I shot.
Why?
He had my gun. He struck me. It was obvious that he was. It was obvious that he was attacking me. That if he would have got this shotgun from me, then it was this is a life or death situation, and I'm going to have to stop him from doing this. So I shot.
Did he stop when you shot?
He did not.
And at this point right here, hasn't said anything to you.
No, he has not said anything yet. No, ma'am.
Hasn't verbally threatened you.
Verbally, no.
Still running with his hands at his sides.
Directly towards me, yes, ma'am.
Hasn't pulled out a gun.
Hasn't seen a gun weapon yet, no, ma'am.
And hasn't shown you a weapon this entire time.
He has not.
Hasn't said a word the entire time.
Not one time.
All he's done is run away from you.
Run past me, yes, ma'am.
And you pulled out a shotgun and pointed it at him.
After Travis was finished, Greg McMichael and William Roddy Bryant decided not to testify.
It's easy for me to say this, but Roddy should have taken the stand. The thing is when you're a co-defendant, you are the other two. You are exactly the same, and they will look at you the same. You're sitting at the same tables, arguing the same case at the same time. You have to distinguish yourself and explain to the jury, you're not those guys. And Roddy was in the perfect position. He didn't even know them.
Before the jury could decide the case, they listened to closing arguments where one of the defense attorneys said something outrageous.
Turning Ahmaud Arbery into a victim after the choices that he made does not reflect the reality of what brought Ahmaud Arbery to Satilla Shores in his khaki shorts with no socks to cover his long, dirty toenails.
During the closing arguments, when Laura Hogue makes this comment, there's almost this screeching halt that happens for everyone else who's watching the trial. It was something that had a visceral response from people in the public because her insinuation that he was in some way dirty, as if to belittle the victim, just had a really horrible effect on those who were listening and felt that that was not a way that you speak about a victim.
When you start attacking a dead young man, you're on very shaky ground.
The jury took just over 11 hours over 2 days to come to a verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, guilty.
It's been a long fight. It's been a hard fight, but God is good.
Yes, he is.
I never saw this day back in 2020. I never thought this day would come. But you know him as Ahmaud. I know him as Quez.
Yes.
He will now rest in peace.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A jury of 11 whites and 1 black in the deep south. That's right. Stood up in the courtroom and said that black lives do matter.
At sentencing, Wanda Cooper Jones had an opportunity to address the court and the 3 men convicted in her son's murder.
He was messy. He sometimes refused to wear socks or take good care of his good clothing. I wish he would have cut and cleaned his toenails before he went out for that jog that day. I guess he would have if he knew he would be murdered.
Wanda Cooper Jones launched the Ahmaud Arbery Foundation in 2020, which promotes the creation of safe spaces for black boys to run, while honoring the memory of her son, Ahmaud, and his story that's impact continues, especially in the city of Brunswick, Georgia.
If you go down in Brunswick, you won't have to look hard to find a mural of Ahmaud. You know, you think we are this small southern town, but we've got it. We've got this race thing licked, you know. We're not those people. This made people kind of reflect. Made people think about this, and you know, and are we paying enough attention to each other?
In August of 2022, the McMichaels and Roddy Bryant were also convicted for federal hate crimes. The McMichaels were sentenced to life. Roddy Bryant received 35 years. A Justice Department spokesperson said this murder was prosecuted for what it was, a brutal, racially motivated hate crime. I'm Ted Rowlands. Thanks for watching Victim to Verdict.